welcome to another episode of Diecast Restos. My name's Jason and this is the Matchbox 31B American Ford Station Wagon. It was produced by Lesney from 1959 to 1964. It replaced an earlier model with the same name that was originally released in 1957. This example, aside from missing its tow hook, has been crushed so the front left A-pillar has detached from the body. The base plates are commonly found in crimson, with the black unusually being the rarer shade. The earliest examples of the 31B came in yellow, the same shade as its predecessor. The model is based on the 1959 model year Ford Ranch Wagon 4-door. And here is how a real-life 1960 Ranch Wagon looks. My first task today is to remove that rivet holding the base to the model. The rear would have been held on with a split rivet had the tow hook not been lost. Now here's a look inside the casting. You can see quite how bent out of shape that axle is here. The windshield is secured by two shallow rivets in the roof, so I shall drill away the edge of those. And if you look closely, you can see where the A-pillar has separated from the body. My modified drill bit has been ground down to a shallower depth so I don't drill through the roof or do something similarly stupid. With a bit of a push, the window piece then pops out. Here I'm using a screwdriver to return the roof to its original position by bending it with some force intermittently. Then I drill out the rivet post, ready to fit a screw to secure the front. The screw tap threads the drilled post for the screw to be fitted later on. In order to fix that axle, I remove the wheels from both, always being wary of scratching the plastic wheels. With that, here are all of the components. First job on the road to repair is straightening out the axle by tapping it with a hammer in my vise. Then each axle is placed in my drill and all the surface rust is sanded down. The plastics are now cleaned in warm, soapy water. The casting came in two colour schemes. As I said previously, the initial releases were yellow, but changed to a green body with a very pale pink roof early in the production run. The easiest way to tell the 31A and 31B apart is the 31B came with a windscreen, while the 31A had none, at least for the majority. There are some rare 31B yellow cars sans windows available at quite a price. Now I add hot water to the metal parts, ready to strip the paint with caustic soda. The real-world Ford Ranch Wagon had been built by Ford starting in 1952. For the 1953 model year, the Ranch Wagon was Ford's first ever all-steel wagon in the firm's history, though the wood-framed Country Squire continued production through 1953. On its launch, the Ranch Wagon was a two-door model based on the mainline series. Its design was inspired by the European shooting brake style. Early models came with an inline-six or optional V8 engine. For 1955, Ford's wagon production became a model line in its own right. In 1957, the Del Rio Ranch Wagon was introduced, which became the basis for the Ranchero pickup. Here I'll be fixing all of the broken parts to the model, first securing the replica tow hook with superglue and baking soda, and then sealing the A-pillar to the body once more. The first 4-door Ranch Wagon was launched in 1958, while the final 2-door wagon was built in 1961. The Ranch Wagon as a standalone model was excluded from 1963 to 1964. Instead, the name was used on some models in the intermediate sized Fairlane range. It returned again in 1965 to 1969, but then ceased to exist as a separate series. From then, the name was attached to the custom line of station wagon models before it was finally dropped in 1974. With the glue and baking soda concoction now dry, I smooth it off by filing away at the thick paste that the mixture creates. Aware that the windscreen has a slight crack at the front, I refit to the polished model to make sure the crack isn't visible. It's just a slight chunk at the bottom that's been lost at some point in its history, but I can't see any evidence of it externally. Then I file down the glue surrounding the tow hook and in the gap left for the split rivet to fit through. Now onto priming. Sorry about the hazy look, it was a really nice sunny evening when I was recording. The casting is looking solid and the roof is now sitting pretty. From what I've read, there are some casting inaccuracies to the real vehicle, but I, as an ignorant Brit, still think it looks superb. The base is coated in Tamiya's thicker primer, mostly to conceal the glue joints a little. For the roof colour, I've opted to go for a nice crisp white instead of a pale pink. This is mostly down to not being able to source a pale pink in a rattle can. The base returns to black as it was originally. Still some evidence of my bodgery around the hook, but it's passable. While the paints are setting, I polish up the window piece. I've gone for kitchen paper instead of a cotton bud here, as I prefer to not unnecessarily use non-reusable plastic in my builds. However, it looks to have done just as good a job. Next up, I tape off the roof, ready to paint the body. As well as pressing down all of the edges of the tape, I seal it in with a hit of clear coat. Meanwhile, I tap the wheels onto the axles and give the ends of them a coat of chrome. Now onto the paint. I'm using the same Ford Green Jade Metallic as I had done for the two-tone 29B Austin A55 Cambridge I restored recently. It's a great shade, although in photos the flake looks massive. It's not quite so bad in real life, and in the video footage it doesn't seem that thick either. With the paint dry and the tape removed, I proceed on to detailing. The model had silver trim applied to the grille, headlights, front and rear bumper, and red trim added to the tail lights. The rear bumper silver trim was omitted roughly around the time the windscreens changed to a green tint from a clear tint, though I've decided to add it to mine. I always add a chrome undercoat to my tail lights to make them stand out and give them a touch more realism. I use my red Sharpie to add the red highlights. And now I reassemble. Not too much to it really. The plastic windshield returns to the roof, snapping over those shallow rivets. Then the base clicks over that front rivet post, and I clip the rear over the split rivet. Finally, I attach my 3mm screws. So here is how the 31B American Ford Station Wagon looked to begin with. It had a crushed roof that had caused the A-pillar to detach. The paintwork was rough, especially the off-white roof. It was missing its tow hook and rear attachment for the base. and the front axle had bent. So here is how this wild wagon looks now. I have straightened out the roof and reattached the broken A-pillar. It's been lavished in chrome as per the original spec. I've cleaned up the window piece so it's nice and translucent again. And on the back here is my replacement tow hook, incorporating the slot for the split rivet to attach the base to the body. The Ford Jade metallic green is a close match to the original shade, while the roof is a much cleaner white. And of course the axle has been straightened out. I hope you've enjoyed this restoration. Please like and subscribe if you have, and leave a comment below. Don't forget to check out my Instagram and Patreon pages for all the latest from me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again for the next one. Bye for now.